Hello there.
Hi.
Asking people if they know anything about philosophy.
Not a thing.
Not a thing.
Not really. No.
Thoughts at all?
Who's that person? Socrates?
Socrates, yeah.
Yeah, I know something about him. Aristotle.
Right, the
Yeah,
Greeks.
yeah. That's about it though. Or Plato, I don't know.
Oh yeah, another Greek. Excuse me. Just asking people if they know anything about philosophy. I wonder if it...
Philosophy?
Yeah.
I know small bit, but not much. Like, I know the Greeks were very good at it.
Do you have a philosophy that you use for
That
yourself?
I stick by.
Yeah.
Try not to be a bad person. Just live by good rules, live by good life, and then hopefully everything will work out. We may come across someone who's got different philosophy rules, okay, be an arse to everyone you meet, and you may get seriously messed over. So, that's kind of the weird things about life, eh?
Hello there.
Hi,
I'm asking people if they know anything about philosophy.
Oh,
You know a bit, would you?
I do, yeah. I know a little bit.
Go on, tell us.
Well, I was with the Waterford Philosophical Society for a little while, up with Anthony, up in the Cheshire Homes. We used to meet there on a Monday evening. Really good, very interesting. So we would have covered a lot of, I suppose, mainly philosophy through literature, Tolstoy and things like that as well, do you know.
And would you have a philosophy of your own? Or?
God, I don't know. I suppose I'm going through so many different books trying to find it. I just think it's really about just kind of living in the moment and try to be as kind and as generous as you can.
In 2005, Anthony Barron founded the Waterford Philosophical Society, and 10 years later they are still going strong. I talked to some of the society's members and began by asking Anthony about their approach to philosophy.
Ordinarily we study philosophers in chronological succession, so we started with the pre-Socratics and we've reached A.J. Ayer, but along the way we've also looked at a variety of special topics such as ethics and aesthetics, and we're just about to embark on a series of lectures regarding the philosophy of science. So a core aspect of the society from the outset has been to make the subject as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So I think for me the huge challenge and subsequently the huge privilege was recognizing that I was in a position to make these texts accessible to people.
I saw a notice now of a lecture which I thought was just a single lecture. Anthony was doing it. Descartes. And I was interested in him because he's a sort of a focal point in things, you know. I think things moved as far as him and then changed from him. So I went up for a single night and I'm there now 9 years afterwards. So again I said, that's an indication of what Anthony is like, you know. Since then, like, we've done Descartes, we went into the Locke and Berkeley, moved on then towards the more modern ones which we are currently into, like, you know. Wittgenstein, Heidegger, Schopenhauer. So, I mean, we done extensively on Heidegger and Schopenhauer, which was tough going.
Philosophy is the type of subject that in so many ways requires knowledge of what has happened before. Now there are a variety of ways in which we can provide that, and sometimes you can give a basic introduction to the fundamental arguments of a philosopher's predecessor if you're trying to show where that philosopher is working from. But ideally you will have a situation like the one that we have, where we can spend an extensive amount of time, particularly in a situation where people may find a given philosopher or a given idea complex. And the fact that they're under no pressure whatsoever to move on, the fact that they do have the opportunity to discuss the issue in question, to relate their concerns if they don't particularly understand what it is we're talking about. It's that type of ease of understanding which benefits all of us.
I kind of like going because I'm probably not a very logical person, so it's kind of good to sort of train your mind to think logically, that one thing follows another. Because most of the time I think I can get very muddled up about things, but it's nice to go someplace where you can just concentrate on that and learn about that, you know, one thing follows from another. So I think that's good, but I also think philosophy is hard. And I never thought it was hard. And for me, I suppose, in my position, I can't really read the text, so I just kind of listen and try to pick up as much as I can from what's talked about in class, or I might read a few of the quotes with my magnifier, but that's a big effort for me. So, yeah, basically for me, I pick up bits and pieces, but you know what? It gives me things to think about.
It is very much a minority pursuit. It has always been a minority pursuit. Sadly, I think it will remain a minority pursuit. But in a sense, it's fantastic that the group in question is comprised of people who are genuinely driven by the desire to ask these questions, to pursue these questions, to, dare I say it, gain enlightenment from the great minds of the past. And there is something particularly special about coming into contact with like-minded individuals in that type of way, specifically when we recognise that we are a few.
Well, in my experience so far, I think I prefer the philosophy that's discussed in poetry and other novels.
Right.
I find that more interesting than kind of the straightforward philosophers, do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the very first one we went to was the word, I know it was a long time ago, but I got a lot out of that because I'm not very good at poetry, or really, to be honest with you, understanding a lot of it. But I think it really helped me when Anthony went through it. I kind of had a bit of a revelation. I thought, oh, that's what it's about, you know. And so that was a good starting point. And also, I really do like it when he talks about the philosophy in different novels.
I still go away from an evening at the Philosophical Society with new ideas, new things to think about, new insights. I mean, that's the thing about philosophy. You don't learn it and then that's it, you're full of philosophy. You have to practice it, you have to keep talking. It's all about dialogue, and there's plenty of that at the sessions.
And do you think the big kind of ultimate questions are important? Like, what kind of, like the afterlife?
Yes,
those kind of questions?
They are important. We can't just be scrabbling after earning a few shillings and just be focused on business and everyday life. We have to leave a bit of space, I think, to consider the big questions, the ultimate questions. I think it's important, as part of a good life, a flourishing life, to consider these things. And the Philosophical Society enables that to happen. It gives a little forum for people to listen to Anthony or the visiting lecturer and talk about the ideas. And we always get such a range of comments coming back from the participants. And usually there's a bit of humour in there as well. We're not just po-faced lecturers, you know, stroking our chins and pondering deep thoughts. There's usually a bit of crack involved as well.
Philosophy can allow us, I would say the philosophy actually compels us to come face to face with what it is that we believe, what it is that we assume, and it ultimately requires us to subject those assumptions and beliefs to critical analysis. And sometimes that will involve giving up the beliefs or presuppositions. It doesn't necessarily mean that we must dispense with them in that sort of way. Sometimes we can look at the foundations of those presuppositions and recognize that they're not as secure as we ordinarily assume. So it can, without question, develop our methods of interpretation, for example.
The Waterford Philosophical Society meet every Monday in Cheshire Homes on Johns Hill and can be found on Facebook. I'd like to thank Raymond Murphy, Laura Martino, Sally Barry, Dr. Sean Moran, and soon to be conferred Dr. Anthony Barron for talking to me.